Ta-da!
Here we are, Monday morning.
Monday morning again on
Let's
this
go.
wonderful edition of Get Found. And
Be seen. You like that pause right there?
you were counting it.
That's true.
You were
Little
counting
counting
off that
pause.
pause.
Little counting pause, Monty.
And you were on like quarter time there.
That's true. Quarter time. Unless I was doing a dance move right there.
Oh, hey.
Right. It could be quarter time still.
Still be on quarter time doing a dance move.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Here we are, Monty. Back at it.
Back at it. Getting down on the last tail end of the year.
That's right. That's right. Coming to a close. Excited about that.
Next couple of Mondays are holidays.
That's right. And we will have a special edition, by the way, for next week.
Yes, we will.
A Christmas edition of Get Found and Be Seen. Let's go. Let me ask you a question, Monty. Are you excited for 2024?
Oh, man. It's one of those, it's like, can we just get this over with? You know, I just like to jump right on in there and get going. It's that a lot of times people have their New Year's resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember who I was listening to. Somebody was talking about it. It's like, why are you waiting? What do you think it's going to be easier on January 1st? You know, it's like, oh, because now we're writing 24 instead of 23. Now this thing that you've been wanting to do is going to be easier to do. No, waiting around is just promoting yourself to wait around.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want a New Year's resolution, start practicing now so that you can actually do it.
Yes. It's funny because I'm competitive in many ways, like with my wife or my kids, you know, in different ways. Unless, you know, yeah. And then so for me, I'm like, look, this is a head start, you know. So I do take the energy that people carry with, you know, hey, it's a new year, it's 2024 and all the hype and all that stuff. I'm cool with it because I'm like, look, I'll use that energy and momentum. I'll leverage it. But for me, I'm like, I'm getting a head start right now. Let's go. Here's what here's what we're going towards, you know?
Yeah, why wait?
Why? So I'm cool with it.
Well, there's a few things to wrap up in 2023, I guess. Got to
gifts.
Those. Take care of them. What was that?
Some gifts.
Gifts?
Or the online gifts? No.
My wife takes care of all the gifts.
Ah, gotcha. Well, excited today, Monty. We're going to talk about charisma, part 2.
Yeah, we didn't finish up. There's so much to talk about, and it was so interesting that I mean, because we were talking about it, we were talking about the different definitions,
right?
So I went to the dictionary. Well, I went to Google. And then there's like 8 dictionaries you can choose from, but whatever. I looked up a dictionary definition. Which dictionary? I don't know. I don't care. Charisma. The dictionary definition of charisma. It's like, well, what is it exactly? And how is it different than presence? I mean, if you've got really good presence, really good charisma, are they different? Yes. Yes, they are. Charisma is solely about attractiveness and charm. A charismatic person inspires devotion. So that's what because those are the best qualities or the most sought after qualities. So that's what we always think about in presence. They're charismatic. They have a good presence.
Right.
But presence, if you think about it like a movie, like oh gosh, I can't even think of a good movie. A movie with a super villain in it, you know? And
Joker.
And here's what's
Batman, the Joker. No.
The Joker.
He was charismatic too, though.
Well,
that's a different way.
But so this is the bad guy's there. He's in the room, and there's the regular people that are going to be affected by him being there, and they're like, oh, they're affected by his presence.
Right.
He's not charismatic. They're not devoted to him. They are not attracted to him. They do not think he's charming, but he has a presence.
Right.
So that was that difference. Presence, the dictionary difference of that presence is the impressive manner or appearance of a person. And a person or thing that exists and is somehow detectable yet unseen. They have a presence.
I
Just
love it.
contrast. So you could have a presence that's, uncharismatic.
Right. Still
Don't want.
strong.
Yeah, it's strong. Still strong.
Yeah. That's deep.
Yeah. But and then well, why? What's the point? What's the distinction? What's the point of that distinction?
Right. There, it's cool. In my opinion, they can sometimes intertwine, but it is good to see the difference. Sometimes people feel like if someone has a presence, you have to be like you have to be over extreme with your movement or whatever. Like for someone who's speaking on stage or someone who's expressing on camera, I got to talk about that, right, Monty?
Absolutely.
But sometimes someone might feel like you have to be super expressive with your hands, for example. And then sometimes if you don't have that connection, you might overdo it. And it might be at the wrong time. It may not be intentional as it needs to be. Even if you think it's intentional. But if I have a message to give that might be somber or that might need to have a pause with it to give people some time to reflect, right? I could think about it as having a strong presence, even with that, without the charisma. Because sometimes if you have too much charisma, that might distract you from what you need to absorb as far as a message. That makes sense?
Yeah, so you're saying that depending on the message, you may want to alter your presence.
Right. You might have to alter your presence. And I think about this even with the concept of choreography, of course, with the entertainment background. Not every song, not every how do I say this? Not every song, not every movement you do will be used to a particular part of a song. If I have a song with a lot of drama and it's excitement and it's fast tempo or whatever, I might have a lot of motion. It's full of energy and vibrant. But if I have something that's slow, you might need to think about romance or whatever. It's not going to be like with that fast song. It's going to be different. Your presence will be different. So it's the same thing with how you show up on camera or on stage or even in a conversation. It has to fit the right context of what's being talked about, what the message is.
Yeah, and that I don't know why, but that just made me think about how a charismatic person might not be approachable. They might be so charismatic and so charming and attractive that you're like, oh, I couldn't possibly go up and introduce myself. I couldn't carry on a conversation with them. They're on this other echelon from me.
Right. Yeah. And people feel that. So true. And so, having that, it's important to have that emotional intelligence in which can come practicing, with the two different, the charisma and the presence, which can help you feel it out. Sometimes you just got to feel it out. You keep practicing and then exploring and seeing how people respond and even getting feedback from people. That's where that comes in to be helpful. I think it's good to have both qualities or to strive towards having both qualities.
I think that identifying that level of knowing, okay, I'm in this situation, and so therefore I need to have my level of presence, level of presence and kind of direction tuning. So I said that approachable thing. A charismatic person might not be approachable.
Yeah.
So there's that. I want to make my presence approachable. So there's this conscious intent like that. Wrap that in there. A little bit of intent. Be intentful with your presence.
I like those words, man. The knowing and the intention. Yeah, it is important to be intentional. You have to be. You have to be aware. And it's hard because as we're moving around, we got a lot of different things going on, and we're in our businesses, and we're trying to make things happen. If you're a solopreneur, even if you have people that work for you, it's hard to be intentional and pay attention to that detail of how you're showing up in that moment. and making the choices. And that's another word I think about even being an artist. As an artist, you got to make choices in whatever setting you're in. So being able to make the choices despite what's going on. And it's hard because if you have a heavy week and you have a lot going on, that's how it was for me. I had a heavy week last week, a lot of things going on, moving, going to so many different places and trying to make things happen with the business still, and then helping my wife with her business. But still, it was important for me to show up and, make sure I was conscious of my presence. And it's funny, I went to different extremes last week too. I went from business to performing, and I had a friend who had a funeral actually last week too, which
Oh,
was challenging. That was it was heavy, but when I go to even as an artist, I also I'm if I have a friend who might a family member who might have a funeral or whatever, I'll go and sing at that event, which is a whole whew,
right. Your
right.
presence is
Your
different. You have
presence
to
is
be aware and have intent so that
right,
you don't come across wrong.
right,
Because
right,
here's that person or thing that exists and is somehow detectable yet unseen. That's that. So if you have all these pressures, personal life pressures on you,
right.
and you allow those to affect your presence, then someone might not know exactly what your personal problems are, but they're going to detect something's off.
Right. Right. And and for me, there's no need, I didn't feel the need to feel that pressure to be like, oh, I gotta perform or I gotta be like this or or not be my authentic self. For me, I was able to be sad even in the situation. But even in my sadness, I was still able to show up and be present. My energy level wasn't high like it usually is, but it doesn't need to be all the time. That's where my presence, which I'm glad you talked about that. That's what my presence, I can show it with my presence and still be that solid, that sense of solidity in that environment so I can encourage people. And at my job, encourage people, right? Online, on camera, encourage people. So it was definitely a transferring of energy and it was definitely a balance I needed to strike, and it wasn't easy, but it's important.
Yeah. So I can imagine as you are traversing from one location to another, from and not even necessarily physical location, but mental location to
Oh
another.
yeah.
And
Right.
that okay, and you could do it as just a going with the flow. I'm water, and I'll just deal with it. And that's not that anything's wrong with that. But if you were to have intent with it, you would be able to acknowledge other people and interact with them on a deeper level than if you're just going with the flow.
Exactly. It's so cool that you mentioned that, because that there is a time and space for the like water mentality. But the challenge with that is if you do that and you're not intentional, you could come across as nonchalant and not caring, even though
Right.
you're caring. For me, I'm one, as an entertainer, as I still perform. I consider myself at this stage of my life as an athlete as I perform because I have to manage my energy. If I don't, people can't tell around me, but I can tell. My family, my wife can tell. So yeah, it's absolutely important. So the intent, being intentional, so important, Monty. So I'm glad you said that. And because being intentional, I can set myself up for success. Sometimes there are rituals I do even when I perform where I'm setting my mind where I can be on all the time in that specific situation and then turn myself off when I need to. Believe me, I'm gonna do that. you
Or
know,
switch gears.
switch gears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but literally I turn myself off if I need to, being an
Right,
introvert,
right.
you
Sometimes
know?
that's the thing. It's yeah,
Yeah.
when you're on, you're on. When you're off, you're off.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and
And
that's difficult. I find I struggle with that one a lot because I go to that personal side and all the business stuff. I still want to just kind of keep my brain on it and attached to it.
right.
So that being able to turn off that aspect is healthy.
Right. It's healthy. And I tell you, Monty, it's not something that's talked about a lot, but it is helpful and it's healthy, like you mentioned. And it's good to think about it. So in the context of charisma and presence, totally, those are two great words to think about.
And then we wrap it up in there with that intent.
Intense.
We had the episode on the intent, and that's interesting how these two things just meshed together so well. It's like, hey, presence is more than just being charismatic, and there needs to be some intent involved. Because here's that, it's like if you're too charismatic, then you're not approachable, And then I had written down there's like other types of presence. It's like so it's not like this is this exact thing and this is this exact thing. Sometimes there's a little bit of meshing over and that sort of thing, but you kind of break it down with approachable, knowledgeable, commanding, inspiring, motivational, a parental figure. It's a little different than being charismatic.
Okay. Yeah.
So just little nuances of that, and it's not, like I said, it's not like, oh, well, this is used for this situation and this is used for that situation. It's just let me be aware. Let me be aware of what's going on. So if I'm in a group of people and I'm trying to be charismatic because I want people to pay attention to me, but I'm trying to give information. That's what the whole thing is about. People are there to get information. Well, then I want to be knowledgeable.
Right.
More so than charismatic.
Right.
Because if people are charmed by me, great, but did they get the information they were looking for? Did I seem like the authoritative figure for that topic?
Right. Yeah, it's very important. And it's interesting, Monty. It's deep because it puts you in a position where I'm not going to say it's not about you, because I'm a firm believer that everyone's part of the story. You know what I mean? But it's not. It helps you to focus on other people.
It's not all about you.
Needs. It's not all about you. I love.
It can still be about you some, but there's that. If it's all about, and that could go with anything. If it's all about one thing, you're not looking at other aspects.
Right. You're one dimensional, and life isn't one dimensional. No. Although we'd like it to be sometimes, it would make it easier. Life ain't like that. Let's not keep having to learn that over and over.
Yeah, but usually easier is less fun. So,
yeah, that's true.
In the long run.
But these are really good, Monty. I didn't really think about these other words, But it is important to be approachable. It is important to be knowledgeable, like you mentioned, and commanding. It's interesting. When you think about that, when I think about that word commanding, sometimes people might think of what you say. But when you're presenting online, sometimes being commanding is not saying a word. See what I just did right there?
Yep.
Because it causes everyone to stop and it breaks the pattern. It's a pattern interrupt.
Nice.
So, I mean, inspiring, for me, that's easy. But I think about the commanding, the knowledgeable, the approachable. Sometimes it's easy to miss those things when you have a lot going on.
And like I said, they're kind of nuances. So maybe the situation is where you're going to be kind of floating through different things as you go through different topics, maybe, or different people that you're talking to. You may need to shift your nuance because you're talking to, a retired accountant that worked in an office space for a long time. So you need to have a different presence for them than you do with the retired military person.
And you said shifting your nuance. That's what you said, right?
You got to shift that nuance.
Shift that nuance. I like that. That's cool. But it's true. It's true. Shift that nuance. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, because and that's less of talking to an entire room. That's more of now I'm one-on-one and then one-on-one or small group to a different small group, or from one event to another event. There's that. And there's if you're doing more than one speaking event and you're speaking for a bank and their employees, and then you're going and doing a wedding or some kind of personal event,
right?
you're probably going to want to take a little time, a few minutes, and shift your nuance there. I'm going to go
Absolutely.
from this type of a situation and how I want to project myself, and now I want to project differently. And it would be very easy just to carry it right on over to the next one, especially if you have several things in a row. You might take that presence from one and go to the next one, and then come across wrong because it's not the right presence for the situation.
Absolutely. No, it's true. I find that, and even like you mentioned that, and also when you're speaking to different groups, sometimes you got to think about, and I've heard Jim Edwards mention this too. Um, Shout out to Jim Edwards, matching the energy of the room.
Right.
That's a good way to think about it too. I mean, you got to be careful with that too, because if the energy's totally low and the person who hires you want the energy up,
Right.
that's
Right.
a
Right.
different thing. You gotta think fast on your feet. But it's like it's funny because you gotta adjust quickly. Even if you plan out, Monty, even if you're making all these plans on how you're gonna do it, and you have a strategy, it's most likely it's not gonna turn out the way you expect it.
I think it's also referred to as reading the room.
Reading the room, baby. Woo! Got to read the room.
Yeah, because like you said, you have expectations, and then there's humans involved, and so therefore they might not be following your expectations. How dare they?
How dare they? Directly said very well. This is good.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite things to talk about, though, Monty. Honestly, because it I know for me it challenges me, and then it reminds me of how to have that emotional intelligence and how to pay attention
So
and to be
I'm gonna
intentional.
tell a little story.
You got okay? Story time.
I'm gonna tell you a little story here. This happened to me just last week.
Go for it.
So I was doing my business type stuff, and I needed to have a certain presence, and I needed to convey my authority on the topic. And then after that, I went to my mom's, and I visited with my mom. And my mom talked to me a little bit later. She says, "I didn't know how to ask you this before, but is there anything wrong? Is there something going on? Is everything okay with your wife? Is your health okay? You came across really tense." And I had carried with me that authoritative presence. I was still
Woo.
in that presence because
Yeah.
I didn't feel that I was being that way. I didn't feel like I was talking short to my mom, but she felt like I was tense and was being short and upset. So
Mm.
there's that. Be mindful. Have some intent.
Right.
If I had just thought about it and said, "Okay, I finished that up so I can release my authoritative thought process. Now I'm going to go see my mom." All right. That's fun. Let's kick back. Let's go do that.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
if I could have taken those 2 or 3 minutes to just do that, shift that nuance, then my mom wouldn't have picked up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't like the
That's
end of the world or a bad situation, but it is interesting
yeah.
that I didn't actually put that together till just now, since with our discussion of why my mom asked me that.
Insight.
Yeah.
Insight.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, Monty. And you just gave me an idea actually.
Nice.
To put something to put into my coaching and our coaching as well, like creating that environment, teaching people how to create that environment and how to transition in the environment as well, because it's very important. You might be in a situation where the majority of people won't even see it,
Right.
but and that will set the tone for so many things amongst the different nuances in that, even in that one situation, or even in not in that situation, when you transition to your next situation.
Right.
Checkpoints to help you to be ready. I know I just gave it away right there.
Yes, you
But
did. But
I
that's
didn't say
okay.
that. I didn't say the how though.
That's right. You just said what to do,
Right.
and some people will be able to grab a hold of that and say, "Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense."
Right.
And
Right.
other people will be like, "But how do I apply that?"
Right.
I understand the concept, but how do I apply that? And if you happen to be in that situation, if you're like, wow, what Carl says makes sense, but how do I apply that to my life? Well,
Right.
get a hold of Carl. Go to carlaline.com
That's right. carlaline.com.
and he can help you out with that.
Bam!
There it is.
Boom!
For that charisma and presence and nuance shifting.
Dude, that is killer right there, man. Nuance shifting. Woo.
I like making stuff up. It's fun.
Dude, you're creative. That's why. You are creative. Using that creative side.
It's so interesting too how I think myself as so logical, and then I come up with something and someone tells me you are so creative. Oh,
right.
Cool.
Right.
I didn't really consider myself that.
Well, it's good to identify because we have both those sides, but it's I look at it as it's as much as we can. Let's grab from each side and pay attention because the day goes by so fast.
Well, there's that. I need to identify and be able to shift that nuance. Logic, creative. I've been really rigid on that, and I need to set things aside, put things away, and set things up and get them ready, and that's how I shift from one thing to another. So it's difficult for someone like that to just move into a new thing. Just like, but I didn't put that away, and I haven't set this up yet. How am I supposed to do that? And super creative people are able to do that, just jump from one thing to the next to the next. And the logical people are like, oh, but I need a system to do that. Yeah. So there's that. Try and shift in between, because there's pros and cons. There's times when that creative style is advantageous. Right. And then there's other times when the logic style is the advantageous. Right. But if you can identify the situation and then try and shift a little, it can be helpful instead of bashing your forehead against it like I do all the time.
Right. I do that too sometimes. I'm very creative. I can, as a freestyle dancer, I can freestyle something up the wazoo. But there are times where I just can't shift. I can't get to if I get a lot of information, I need a minute. And that's part of me being an introvert. I need a minute to kind of absorb it and then give it some time, So, but it's cool to see the nuances, shifting the nuance. And that can help you. That can help your presence and charisma.
Absolutely. Being in control. That'll help you with anything.
Right. Which is important.
Well, there's so much that we're out of control of.
Right.
So,
and that's the funny thing, Monty. There's so much that we are out of control of, right? And there's so many things that we're in control of. So identify. That's a whole topic right there.
That is. You know what? That is such a great topic.
You gonna write it down?
I'm gonna write that one down right now. Yes, sir.
That's right. Write it down. And that's the thing. I love, the paradox is like that. It is this, but it is this and it is that. But we live in a society where it is this, but it's that because it's easier. It's just easy to just make a decision and say, okay, it's this or that. No, it's and. That's the beauty of life.
Or sometimes it's or.
It is sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, it's like, is it this or is it that? Well, it's kind of this combination in between.
Right. It's true.
Yeah, the world is a funny place.
I was about to say that. Funny place.
Yeah, that
you said it first.
I don't know.
It's teched up.
It's teched up.
Monty, it is what it is.
It is. Well,
I think we covered everything.
Because we were wrapping it up. I mean, I'd already talked a bunch about it, but this was just expanding on that some because that dictionary definition made it pop in my mind. It's like, oh, hey, there's these nuances that we can talk about. And I think that also it's a misconception. People just assume charisma and leaders, and that's all there is to it. Either you're charismatic and you're a leader, or you're not.
Right.
And I think that there's a bunch of levels.
Totally. You know, and I love the beauty of exploring all of it, because it's like colors. It's there's different colors we experience in life, right? Even with the rainbow has different colors. But why not explore the different colors and stop and see the beauty of it and see how it could apply to your life?
I'm gonna take that analogy to the next level, Carl.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Monty.
Because you can step back and look at, you got your Roy G. Biv, your red, orange, yellow. It's like, yeah, but you can get right in there. And look, in between that red and that orange and that yellow, there's variations of those colors. There's some nuances of those colors.
Okay, I see you, Monty. I see what you did. I saw what you did.
So yeah, just that back to, hey, when you step back, you can see things in a certain way. And then when you scrutinize them, it gives you more to work with. And then there's that balance. You can scrutinize too far.
Yes. Yes,
so
indeed.
It's that don't want to get too far back and lose focus on the picture, but you don't want to get in so close that you're looking at the little pixels and you can't see the picture at all.
Right. Yeah, the pixels. You had to remind me of that. Think about what graphics. Another topic.
Yes, back in the day, the dot matrix graphics.
But I thought about graphics with editing, and you have to get so close you see things pixelated.
Yes, been there, done that too.
So
again, there are times when you do. Everything has a time and a place. If you can identify the right time and place, then you can maximize the effect of what you're doing. And that's across the board. I mean, that doesn't matter if you're talking about marketing and business or videos and confidence or your relationships and your family.
Right.
There is a life note.
Life lesson. I love it. That was good, Monty. Good stuff.
Yeah. And now we can finalize that. We can put a check mark on that one.
Check mark.
Charisma. We covered that for 2023. We don't have to worry about that until next year.
That's right. Unless you're preparing. And you're preparing right now, baby. Let's go.
We're practicing. Constantly practicing.
Constant motion. Yes, indeed.
I heard a thing, a 92-year-old pianist, famous pianist. I don't remember which one, but he was in an interview and they asked him, it's like, why do you still practice every single day? And his answer was, well, because I think I'm starting to get good. And here he was. Everyone thought he was the best.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and I like to say, I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just getting warmed up.
That's right in there with hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Hold my Angry Orchard.
Which is extra funny because I don't drink, so whatever.
I don't drink most of the time, but I have Angry Orchards here and there.
There you go.
Love my Angry Orchards.
There's nothing wrong with a little reward here and there.
Not at all. Not at all.
We're coming up on the big day here soon, where everybody's the New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
That's the big excuse for people to consume more stuff that they don't need to.
Well,
but it's all good.
It's all good. All good.
Well, we're gonna have that Christmas special. We'll throw that up there for next week, but then we're gonna take a week off. We'll take the first off.
That is a good idea, my friend. I think our wives will appreciate that.
Yeah, have a little family time there.
Family time. Yeah. So yes, indeed. So next Monday, we will have the Christmas edition of Get Found, Be Seen. It's a pre-recorded version. Check it out. It's going to be really cool. And join us. Tune in. Have some eggnog, have some, I don't know, a snack. Keep your feet warm, whatever, and just tune in.
To have just I think it's a short one. I think it's like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
yeah, but just a nice short little thing. Just start out your Christmas day with a little Carl and Monty.
Let's go. Man, who does that? So you're not going to get it other places, so you might as well tune in here.
That's right, and we have a good time.
We do.
There's a lot of people that just talk shop, and I guess we talk shop.
We do. We also bring the nuances,
but we do bring the nuances and shift them around.
Shift them around. Shift and I should have brought my jug. I had juggling balls. Juggle them around.
One of those tile puzzles.
Should have had my juggling balls with me. They're somewhere around here. Oh well. So hey, I guess that wraps it up. Monty, if someone is struggling with their tech and they're like pulling their hairs out, like they're like me, they have no more hair because they pulled so much hair out from all the tech issues, and they need someone to coach them along and help them. And they also need some help, or they need some help with their website designs. Where can they go to get that help?
They can just visit montyarmstrong.com, scroll to the bottom, and fill out the form.
That's right. Simple.
You can read the stuff on the way down too if you want, but you can just scroll right down to the bottom, fill out the form, and I'll respond.
You made it simple for them. Yes, indeed.
And we already mentioned it once, but let's go back over that again, and we'll add in there, because if someone is struggling on getting to this point, getting to the point where they can just click record or go live or whatever it is, I can't push the button. I'm too scared. I'm not confident. I don't know how to do it.
I try to just act out what you were saying.
You were doing good.
I started to do good. I started getting in sync. I started to get in sync. Okay. Where can they go?
Where can they go?
Where can they go? They can go to carlaleen.com. All things Carl.
And there's a lot.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot to Carl. Carl is not simple.
I'm a complicated guy. I'm an enigma. And that's right. And I love it. And I love it. Okay, end it.
All I could think of was, I'm glad you're an enigma and not an enema. So
enema. Or an amoeba. Well, that'd be an issue, right?
That would be an issue.
carlaleen.com. Check it on out. And you've been listening to and watching another edition of Get Found
and Be Seen.
Talk to you later.
Have a good one.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
And all that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Go eat some lunch.